All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful mindset shift for hitting your goals. One that goes way beyond just wishful thinking and actually puts you in a dynamic partnership with life itself.
So let's kick things off with a question that I'm pretty sure we've all felt at some point. You want something so bad, right? But the more you fixate on wanting it, the more it seems to just drift away. What is going on there?
Well, the answer really comes down to a huge shift in perspective. It's all about the difference between a state of wanting and a state of embodying.
Okay, so look at this. The real difference, the big difference, is all about the energy behind it. Wanting, that comes from a place of lack. It's basically telling your brain, I don't have this. But embodying, that's about identity. It's an active, powerful stance that says, nope, this is who I am, this is what I do. Let's make this super concrete, right? Here's a simple example. Just imagine someone who's decided they want to collect some really interesting cars. See? This is the whole game changer right here. It's that identity shift. The second you switch from someday I'll have to I collect interesting cars, your brain kind of flips a switch. It stops just daydreaming and starts actively problem solving. It's asking, okay, so how do we do this? What's out there? What's a good deal? It's scanning for opportunities because you're now operating from the identity of someone who does this.
And this whole idea, acting from a new identity, it builds into this amazing metaphor for how we can start working with life, instead of constantly fighting against it. Think about it. Instead of trying to force everything and feeling like you're swimming upstream all the time, this concept asks us to see life as this big, powerful river. You can't control its current, but you're not just a passive passenger either. You are an active, skilled participant. You're the whitewater rafter, using your skill to navigate the flow and actually work with its momentum.
So let's break this down a bit because it's super helpful. The river, that's life itself, right? The opportunities, the momentum. You are the rafter, an active participant. Your raft, that's your clear vision or your goal. And the paddle, that's your focus and the actions you take. See, your job isn't to create the river. It's to get in and navigate it. And here it is. This is like the secret sauce to the whole thing. The resources you think you need, the money, the contacts, the perfect timing, they don't just appear while you're standing on the shore making a perfect plan. They show up after you've launched. They show up mid-journey. Man, this is the trap, isn't it? This is where so many of us get stuck. We want the entire path perfectly mapped out before we even dip a toe in the water. But the river only reveals what's around the next bend to the people who are already moving with the current. You have to launch to see the way forward.
Okay, so that's the big question, right? If you can't see the whole map, how in the world do you build up the trust to just launch into the river? Well, it all starts with how you navigate with your mind.
So, what does this actually look like in the real world? It's not always some grand dramatic thing. A lot of the time, it's these subtle, intuitive nudges, just like in this story.
So in this story, the person wasn't, desperately scrolling through apartment listings every day. They were just open, ready for something new. And when they saw an ad that just felt right, they followed that little intuitive pull. And the amazing part? The means to do it, the job to support it, it was already there. They hadn't forced it, they just recognized and acted on an opportunity that was a perfect match for who they were becoming.
And what's so cool is what's happening on a biological level. This isn't just fluffy thinking. When you consistently visualize and really feel yourself in that new identity, you are literally rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. Your brain starts to treat that future vision as a real memory, which makes taking the actions to get there feel way less like a struggle and more like, well, the natural, inevitable next step.
Okay, so that brings us to the really practical stuff, the how-to. How do you actually do this? Well, here's a daily 30-minute routine to get you ready to launch into your river every single day.
The first half of this is all about building your foundation. First, you get centered. Just be present. Then, you set your destination by vividly imagining your future self. Next, you shift your energy to abundance with gratitude. You make that new identity concrete by writing down an I am statement. And finally, you just let any insights or feelings flow out through journaling.
And then, the last 5 steps, this is all about activation. This is where you bring it to life. You feed your mind. You declare your new identity out loud with some real energy. You use your body to lock that feeling in.
Then, and this is key, you build a bridge to the real world by choosing one small inspired action for the day. And then, the most important step of all, you release it. You smile, you say thanks, and you trust the river. When you boil it all down, it really comes back to this. It's an active partnership. Your job is to build the raft with your vision, to hold the paddle with your focus. And from there, you work with the current and trust the river to help guide you.
So, look, the big takeaway here isn't that you have to figure out every single twist and turn of the journey ahead. Not at all. It's about deciding on your vision. It's about building your raft. And then, the only real question left to answer is what river are you going to launch into today?